All right, Frank Root from TLR, back with you here. I am getting ready to do the build for bag E on the 22X-4. We're kind of doing this build series where I'm going bag by bag and building the kit. You can see all the tips and tricks that I use when I'm building my kits, and nothing super special, but it's still, if you're newer to RC, it'll make it a little bit easier to build your kit. Pick up a few tricks. Something I decided to do was to invite on some of our TLR team drivers to join in and be part of the chat so we can converse and you can learn about them. They can drop in some of their tips from their experience with the 22X4. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Tyler Whitt.
All right.
Hey, Tyler, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just got done doing some more schoolwork, some midterm stuff, all from home now, as pretty much I believe everybody is now. So
pretty much.
All
right. Well, Tyler came to TLR not too long ago, I think the beginning of last year, and it's been great for us. And he's from Wisconsin, but I'll hand it over to Tyler for a minute. He can tell you a little bit about himself and his racing and his time on TLR.
Yeah. So this is my second year now. Been super happy making the switch to TLR. Was probably, if it was the best switch I have made. But I'm like Frank said, I'm from Wisconsin. Greenfield, my home track is Trackside Hobbies. Super happy to have that track as my home track. Jamie and Greg, they definitely know how to run a really good show. My hat goes off to them every week. Whether it's the AE race, the buggy camp, club racing, they got it down to a science. Hopefully, with all this stuff going on, we can get back to the track soon. I've been itching a race. But what's up, Chris? But yeah, so like I said, coming to TLR was probably the best switch I've ever made. The new 22X4, I can't wait till every one of you guys can get it built, get it on the track. Hopefully that's sooner than later. I think everyone's going to be really impressed. When I built my car, I mean, it was a flawless build. Haven't had a single issue with it. Everything's super durable on the car. It's just really fun to drive. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to come and find out that it's going to be your new favorite car to drive. But yeah, I mean, everything about it, Frank and the team did a really good job on it. I'm super happy with it. But yeah, get some more comments going here. Hopefully everyone's getting a good jump start on their builds. This time off is kind of nice. Get kind of caught up on everything, maybe build up an extra car, make sure everything's fresh. That way you got no excuses.
Yeah, so we got some pretty good viewership going now, and went ahead and shared that in 22 Empire in the Team Losi Racing group. Tyler shared it, I shared it, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. So we've been doing the build so far, and you can kind of see up here we have slipper, center diffs, and then we have a set of shocks and a full set of turnbuckles. So this is bag A, B, C, and then D, and we got all those done. Now it's time for bag E. We did organize the kit this way intentionally, so you get the diffs, the turnbuckles, and the shocks built, and when you go through the rest of the build, the car pretty much falls together. Was that how your experience went building your car, Tyler?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's probably one of, I guess I could say, one of the best parts about it is just everything is like in a super good order. You kind of get that pain in the butt stuff out of the way first, and once you get that stuff done, I mean, that normally takes like half the time right there. So works out good.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Here's bag E, and then you have I got my chassis, which came in a different. It just comes in the box, so we open that up first. So I take my serial number sticker off just because I like my stuff to look super clean. Just kind of peel it back with my fingernail here so I can grab it good enough, and then I'll rip it off and use some brake cleaner and just clean off any residue that's left on the chassis from the sticker. I do have my instruction manual here that I can reference if I need to. If we're being honest, for this part of the build, at least, I don't really need it. I've built this car enough times. I really know how it goes together. But I suggest for everybody building it for the first time that you definitely pay attention and follow the instruction manual. Make sure you get the right length screws and the right holes and so on and so forth.
Let's
All
see. Got a couple questions going. Let's see. We got a question from Robert. He's kind of curious to see what electronics and motor you're going to use in there.
Well, I think we're not quite on the exact same package, Tyler, but I run Motive motors and batteries and accessories, and I'm pretty sure you do too as well.
Absolutely. Hometown.
Yep. And then Paul Lemieux makes great products, and I really enjoy running for him. And then I'm going to use a Much More Speedo and a Spectrum Servo.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much right there. Everything is the same. I got all Motive battery, Motive motor, and then Spectrum Servo, and then Hobby Wing Elite ESCs.
All right. So now we got my bags here. I got bag E1, E2, E3, and E4. And remember, the bag number doesn't necessarily match the step. It's just the bags in order. You build till you run out of parts, then you open the next bag. So we're going to take 2, 3, and 4, set them off to the side. Don't really need them right now. And I'm going to go ahead and open this bag. I'm going to put my parts out on a rag. You could put them out on the table. You could put them in a parts tray. Some people I see just literally dump them on top of the manual and build that way. Whatever works for you, but I like doing the rag mostly because there are no yellow parts, so you can see everything super easily. And yeah, works really good for me. I usually don't wrench on a rag, but for building new kits, it's a good way to keep things from rolling around and moving around.
Hey, Frank. Hunter King wants to know where you're getting your factory yellow rags from.
These are Costco brand. I don't know if they're Costco brand, but they come from Costco.
I just get a whole bunch of Amazon ones.
Get these nice like 36 pack for like $15. And yeah, they are actually Kirkland Signature Series.
There's a lot of good Costco stuff out there. I don't think a lot of people
work
know.
Awesome. So they work really good for drying tires. Like some of the microfibers don't actually hold water that well, but these actually work really good. All right, so we got our chassis. We cleaned off that sticker. First step is we're going to put our mud guards on here. As you can see, there's a left and a right, and these are marked. You can kind of see it here in the back corner. It says SFT right there. SFT, let's see if I can get a better. Yeah, SFT stands for soft. It's our abbreviation for soft. And then there's also an SZL, and that stands for stiff as L, which is our really like our stiffest mudguard material. For the 22X4, we only have soft and stiff as L. We did not come out with like a standard or a medium because honestly, on the two-wheel drive, we never run it. We either run stiff as L or we run soft. No in the middle. So anyways, I'm going to get out my Makita. I have an Impact Makita here. A lot of guys will get the clutch screwdriver style Makita or a Hitachi, Milwaukee, whatever. But this is the one that I prefer. They work super good. A lot of speed, but a variable speed. So you got to just make sure you don't drive the screws in too far and strip them out. But I use it enough that I feel really confident using it. So just line up that front screw and get it in there. And then we use 10 millimeter screws here, which are slightly longer for the battery strap hooks. So you can kind of hold them up so you can see them. Has this hook shape to it to grab the elastomer battery strap, and that's got like a square on the bottom. So that just fits in the mudguard here and here. And you want to put the hooks right so that they go away from the battery compartment. It's pretty straightforward, but just wanted to put it out there. So I usually do the rear, do the front, do the rear, and then do the center.
Yeah, and that's a really good way, kind of what Frank just mentioned, by doing the front and then the rear. It kind of just automatically lines with that center. That way you just kind of know everything's sitting flush how it should be. That way you don't get anything really tweaked or you strip out any of those screw holes.
Yeah, and these parts, I mean, the mud guards are pretty much like the hardest part for us to make because they're so long. And if the shrink is off, the shrink rate is off at all, it gets really difficult. And, plastic parts, when they come out of the mold, they shrink. So that's very kind kind of a key challenge there. So our mud guard's always going to fit 1,000,000% perfect, dead flat, right against the chassis. Screw holes lining up, probably not, but we definitely put a lot of work and effort in to get them as close as we can.
Yeah, and I mean, when I built my car and tested, I mean, I tried the soft versus the stiff ones, and I mean, every single one they were right there on fitment. I mean, can't complain at all. They're really good,
Yeah.
as is everything else on the car.
And I think pretty much the entire team is running the soft mud guards. Tyler, you have the soft ones on your car still?
Yep, I do have the soft ones on my car. I think it just kind of gave the car a little bit more grip, and yeah, I mean, it's been pretty good. So
almost makes it more forgiving too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like right now, like trackside, the big thing I noticed too is kind of like with arms and stuff, but like the soft versus stiff mud guards, kind of like the soft stuff just seems to help soak up the bumps and stuff when the track starts to get a little more rutted up.
Yeah.
I definitely think it adds that little bit of flex, so you kind of just don't notice it as much.
Okay, cool. All right, let's get back here. We have our chassis braces. There's a front here and a rear, and then you have your carbon plates, and obviously one fits each of them. So I actually screw these onto the chassis first, and then put the carbon plates on top. This is the front one. I'll just show you like a side view. There's a little gap in here. We call it the tunnel, and that's where the wire for the speed controller that goes to the receiver can travel underneath without requiring you to remove it or anything. It'll fit the plug through there. But you have your flathead screws. These 10 millimeters are all the same size. After you put the mud guards on, you only have 10 millimeter left. And you just go ahead and line up the front one and let her rip.
Heck yeah, always got to let it rip. Oh man, any you guys who are out there watching, I mean, we got 55 people. Has anybody got any questions for either of us? I mean, get some more comments going in here. You can ask anything: 2-wheel, 4-wheel, truck. I don't run truck, but
2-wheel, 4-wheel. I mean, we both run for Proline and Motive. So if you have Motive questions or Proline questions, or like I run Spectrum stuff, you can ask those.
Yep, pretty much all on the same program. So what are you thinking of the much more stuff nowadays?
I'm really a fan. I was running something different before, and we got a lot of guys. We got a lot of guys on the team, and I end up driving a lot of cars that aren't mine.
Oh yeah.
And I was just every time I drove a car with much more stuff, and I was just super impressed with how smooth the power felt, but how much power the car had. And I thought it would be a good change for me, and I hit up Joe Pillars, and he was on board, and Paul was good with it also. So I went ahead and made that change, and I've been super happy. I made the change for no other reason than what I felt the performance of the product could do for me. So. All right, so we have our carbon plates here. So here's the rear one. It's really easy to tell the top and the rear because it has this little cutout that goes on the top. But if you notice, the top edge here is chamfered all the way around on all the carbon parts, and the bottom edge isn't. So pretty easy to tell which way's up and which way's down. And the same with the front here. You have a chamfer along the edge here, and on the opposite side you don't. And then in the front, you have this shape here that fits. It's kind of an oval shape with the 2 screw holes, so you know which way that goes. And then the same thing here. You have only button head screws left, all the same lengths, so you can go ahead and put those in. Pretty straightforward. What I do is I get the screws about snug or just before snug with the driver, and then I go back and finish them off by hand. Especially for a new car, and especially if it's a car I haven't built before, I'm not comfortable with. I'll err on the side of stopping the driver early and not late. So, or running it with lower power, whichever. So, this being an impact driver, I mean, I could just hold the throttle open and strip out pretty much every single screw in the car if I wanted to, but I have a good feel for it, so.
Yeah, that's I've seen a couple people do that. I mean, I'd be guilty if I said I haven't done it myself.
All right, so there we go. Chassis, got some nice carbon chassis braces, control the flex. You can see right here the little mount for the fan that we're going to put in later. No hole in the chassis for that, just sits right on top. So built into the chassis brace, which is really nice. And then you have that, let's see, we're going to go this way. You have that nice little tunnel there so you can fit that wire through. So we got that going. All right, so we're going to go to bag E2. This is where you really appreciate building everything ahead of time, because we're going to put the center, I'm going to put in the center diff right now, but you can see how it's nice to just, you get these parts out, you get them on the chassis, and then you just grab the diff and put it in, and you're moving on. You don't have to stop and build a diff.
Let's see here. We got a couple more questions from Travis. What's up, buddy? The next big race at Trackside, that's going to be the U.S. Buggy Champs. For right now, I believe it's still going on from what I heard from Gregory and Jamie. If any of you two are on, feel free to post a comment. I know it just got postponed. I know they don't have a date for sure yet, but it's still looking like it's going to happen. Let's see. We got RC Vitals. What do we think of the S compound in Proline tires? When would you use them over a clay compound, especially when you're racing at a big indoor race? I don't know about Frank, but for me, it always seems like the S compound works a little bit better once the track goes to slicks.
Yes. Yeah, they don't work as treads pretty much at all.
Yeah, no, that they don't. But yeah, pretty much at a big race, pretty much the growing trend as you go, you're like there for half day on a pin and you kind of been working your way to slicks, and the S compound just always seems to be a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more stable than the clay compound tires. So hopefully that helps out with your question there.
Cool. All right, so we got the center diff brace here, and you can see how there's a flange on this edge that holds the bearing. Well, the flange goes on the outside, so it's pretty easy to figure out. And then you can see there's two sets of holes here in the chassis, and you're either going to run the back set of holes here and the back set of holes here, or the forward set and the forward set. To run the forward set of holes, you need a different set of drive shafts that are 61 and 100 millimeters long, so it's a shorter front drive shaft and a longer rear. But building the kit setup and for all the clay running that we do, we run the rear set of holes, and we run that with the kit drive shafts, which are 67 and 93. So we're going to install this guy in this set of holes, and then we're going to take this motor plate here and we're going to install it in that set of holes. So just for reference. I try and give you guys a little close-up when I can, because the camera is a little bit high off the pit table, but it's kind of the only way that it works here for me. So I want you to be able to know what I'm doing and not have to guess. And then when we take these flathead screws that we're going to put in the aluminum motor mount, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spray the rag there with a little bit of brake clean, and motor spray works too. And basically just unscrew the screw out of the brake clean section of the rag and just kind of almost hold the threads with my fingers. And you can see how much dirt came off just those two screws. It's just oil. And when you have that oil on there, then the thread lock or Loctite won't stick to the screws. So I'm going to use some TLR lock here, apply a little bit to the screw, and then put that motor mount on. Apply some lock to the second screw and do the same.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is whenever you're doing aluminum to aluminum, always just make sure you've got some Loctite. Always helps out.
Yep. And another tip, and we're not going to do it now, but if you ever need to take Loctite out, the best way to loosen it if you're having trouble is to get it hot. So if you take like your soldering iron tip and put it on the screw, or even just put a lighter on it for a second, it can help loosen it up. Obviously, those things are hot and you need to be careful not to burn yourself. All right, so we have our braces in now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the center slipper and center diff. So you have your slipper and your diff. both of them are the exact same length in terms of the out drives. So you use the same drive shafts, whether you're running a center diff or a center slipper. You don't need to change drive shafts for either. So we're gonna put the slipper in the car just because that's the Dakota Fen setup, and he's pretty awesome. So we'll use that. And you're running a center. You're running a center diff also, Tyler?
Yeah, right now, I'm running mod. I got a 5.5 in. So yeah, I've been running a center diff. But kind of like I think you had mentioned it in the last video. But for 13.5, I did run it with a slipper. You definitely get a little bit more out of the corner punch with that, and I think a lot of guys are going to like the slipper in 13.5 over the gear diff.
Yep, for sure. All right, then we have our brace here that goes above, covers that center diff, center slipper assembly, and it's same thing. It has a chamfer. Let's see if you can see it this way, maybe. Sorry, I'm like looking at it and holding it, and you kind of see there's like a chamfered edge right here, and then this is a sharp edge. So you just go chamfered edge up. Should be pretty easy to see in person. And then here, there's only 3 screws, and this is key for later. You put 1 screw here in the left front, and it just goes into plastic, so you can just screw it in. And then same thing here. I'm going to clean these screws that are going in the back and use thread lock. But we leave that right front screw unused right now because there's a loop that mounts your electronic wires, your power wires that go to the battery, and that doesn't get installed until later when you're installing your electronics.
Let's see here. We got a question here just from Mario for you there, Frank. He's curious on what shock package you ran at the Desert Classic.
So we ran, and we posted Dakota Fen setup from that race, and so it's on the site. We ran kit pistons, kit stroke. We ran 42.5 front, 37.5 rear oil, and we ran associated V2 yellow front springs and blue rear springs. So depending on the track, we go back and forth between our springs, the AE springs, sometimes the yoke, the X-ray springs. It just kind of depends. And, we get this question sometimes about why we, different companies run different company springs. And really what it comes down to is springs are really, really, really like a black art, like really challenging to make. And it's really hard to get them right. And the difference between all the springs that we run is hundredths, of a pound per inch and a little bit of progression. And it's really hard to have the perfect spring for every scenario. So we have our center diff assembly here all in and ready to go. If you do get a little bit of play in there, like this one has a little bit of play, it just kind of depends on the size of some of the molded parts, but we do have some extra spacers which are included in the tuning parts bag. No, tuning parts? In one of the bags. I think it's
in one of the small bags.
Is it spare hardware?
Yeah, I think so.
It's in one of them.
Sure.
Let's see.
I just know that I believe you get 4 of them.
Yeah, here it is. It's in the tuning parts bag.
Yeah, what's up, Victor?
So I'm actually going to throw one in real quick because I feel like this car could use it. And then when I add these in, I always put it on the rear and to push it forward. I never go the other way. So, and when you see those spacers, there's actually 2 different sizes. There's a 10 thou or it's not 10 thou. It's 0.1 millimeter and a 0.2 millimeter. So this one has a little bit of play. So I'm going to go with a 0.2. Just pull the bearing off, put the spacer on, put the bearing back in, and yeah, you do need a little bit of play. You can't use it without any play because then that means that you're basically pinching the bearings, and if you're pinching the bearings, then it's going to bind your drivetrain. So that's pretty important.
Skyler, who do I recommend for charge leads? Obviously, that's you, buddy. Skyler Bergeron out of Colorado. You hooked up me and my buddy Greg some pretty awesome charge leads. I don't know if he's making them for everybody though. That'd be up to him. But they're high quality. I recommend them for sure.
Yeah. All right, so we got that done. So now we're going to go to bag E3, and let's put the car over there. And E3 is going to be our steering assembly. So get all the parts out here.
Oh boy, from Zach Rose. I can only imagine what he's thinking right now. Nor do I really want to know.
I don't think we do.
I don't know.
All right, so we have here our bell cranks. We have our composite rack, carbon fiber bell crank plate here, and then we have our hardware. And this is one of the items I'm going to install in the car. We have some like tuning and option parts. This is the aluminum steering rack, which you can see there. And let's see, I'm going to go back to this view so it's a little easier to see. But we're going to do this aluminum steering rack. So what I did is I picked the 3 option parts to install that I would recommend the most. So the aluminum rack is the first one of them. The plastic rack works totally fine. It doesn't break. And to be honest, I can't tell much of a difference in the steering feel. Dakota thinks that it does feel a little bit more precise. But for me, I haven't felt the need where I'm like, oh, I got to run the aluminum one. But it really looks awesome. So I like running it because, you know, why not? It's nice to have nice things. All right, so just to make sure I do all this in the right order for the manual. All right, so we have our bell crank here. Go ahead and clean these parts up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on this block, this carbon block here on the rack. You can see there's 2 holes. We're going to run the hole further back. And then same thing here on this part. The top edge is chamfered and the bottom edge is not. So if you're ever wondering which way it goes, they're all going to have the chamfered edge up. When you get to parts like the shock towers where you do get both, you know, you do get to see both sides, then those are chamfered on both sides. But these kind of parts where you don't see the bottom or touch the bottom really ever, then they don't really need to be.
Oh boy, my brother Craig's on here. Well, brother from another mother. Oh, the whole Zach Rose. Do I prefer S3 at trackside? Yes, I do right now. You guys can get that.
It depends on. I think it's for me at least. It's a little bit temperature sensitive too.
Yeah, it definitely is. Right now, even though with it being colder, our track I think it dried out a little bit, and I mean the grip and tire wear just came up, so I just feel like they're a little bit better right now.
Yeah, that's definitely dry is better. So now we put our ball stud there. It's the focus. There we go. In the back hole, it's the 8mm ball stud with a nut. And there's one 8mm ball stud and 2 6mm ball studs in this bag. So it's pretty easy to keep them straight because you only have one going here and you need 2 to go in the rack. So next I'm going to grab these ball studs that go in the rack. I'm going to add a 1mm black ball stud washer there. And then on the rack, we're going to use the back hole and you screw the ball studs in from the bottom. And the forward hole is a more aggressive steering feel. Have you tried that at all, Tyler?
That I actually have not tried yet. I've been definitely thinking about it. I don't know. For me, the car just has all the steering I possibly could want. So I haven't really found myself in that predicament yet to try it. So
this is an aluminum rack, and they are steel ball studs, so metal into metal. But I do not thread lock these. I never have them come loose. If you tighten them enough, they're gonna stay tight. So. Feel free to Loctite them. It's definitely not a bad idea, but I don't feel the need to, so I don't on mine. And then we have the screws here, we have bearings, and we have washers. So put a bearing in, and then a washer goes in the middle, and then another bearing, and then you put the screw through there. And the assembly process is exactly the same if you're using the molded rack. No different. Just get it lined up so that it's straight. You want to make sure you get them straight so that both sides are parallel to each other so it doesn't cause any binding in the rack. And then this one, you don't really crank down on it. You just kind of get it snug and just make sure that it's free. So you can see right now it's a little lazy. So I'm going to back it off like an 1/8 turn. And now it's super free on-ball bearings. So there's like no play in it. It's really nice and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and install the bearings and the spacers on the other side. Same thing. And obviously reference your manual just to make sure that you're putting the correct bell crank on the correct side of the assembly. Like I said, I've built this so many times, I don't really need to check that myself, but it would be a good thing to keep an eye on until you're familiar with a car. Okay, so this one's a little snug, so we're going to back it off.
What's up, Kevin?
So there you go, nice and free. And that's what we're looking for, you know. You want things flopping around, no binding in any of the suspension, but still very tight, not a lot of play. Here's the molded rack. Just so you guys see, there's a bar here across the front. You just cut that off. You don't use that for the assembly. Or you can just twist it once or twice and it'll pop off. And then you can clean up the flashing. All right, so bag E4. So this is our last bag for bag E. And just open up all these bags real quick. Got some bearings, got some steering posts, some hardware, another piece of carbon. All right. So first things first, I'm going to put the steering post on the chassis. So there's only 2 flathead screws, so that's pretty straightforward. These ones you definitely want to clean and thread lock. And being that we're on the last bag, if you guys have any questions for Tyler or myself, now is the right time to post them. We should be able to answer them here in a minute or two, and then we'll hop off the video after we answer all the questions.
Absolutely.
Let's see. All right, so I put a little thread lock on, put the screw through the hole in the chassis, and then I'll start to thread the post on a little bit, a couple turns. Then you want to actually push the post down so that it keys into the chassis. You can kind of see the shape of the post has some flats on the side, and then the chassis has a shape to fit it so it'll hold itself. You just want to kind of hold it down with your finger to make sure that the flats stay engaged, and then you don't have to like hold the post with pliers or a nut driver or anything. It'll just hold itself.
Let's see. We got a question from Steve about bearings. Oil or grease? It's definitely oil for me. I don't run for them, but I do use the Shell Black Diamond stuff, I believe it's called. I think it's the Black Diamond. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's the stuff I use. I take all my bearings, clean them out with some citrus degreaser, and then make sure they're well oiled. So freeze everything.
I use so the kit bearings come packed with grease because that's the most durable. So a little bit more resistance, a lot more durability. You can use like a motor spray, brake cleaner, citrus cleaner, and you can take the grease. You can go ahead and clean the grease out of the kit bearings. They're going to roll a lot freer. They're just not going to last as long. So when you spray out or get all that grease out, then go ahead and put some oil back in. Myself, I use RC Speed Secret ceramic bearings and use the RC Speed Secret oil that is recommended to use with them. And my bearings last forever and they're super smooth. So I've been super happy with those. And it's something that's definitely been a good upgrade to my program. Do you need awesome bearings to like win? Like, maybe not really, but honestly, for me, it's just nice because you spend a little bit more for ceramics, but you actually probably in the long run spend less because they last for so long. Yeah. So the durability is almost like a bigger benefit than the performance.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. I got ceramic, but that's about it.
Sorry. So we got that on. Now we're going to go ahead and take these larger bearings and just go ahead and press them in the top and bottom of both bell cranks. Pretty straightforward, and then they just slide over the posts. Also super straightforward, nice and free, and that's what you want. And then there's 2 1/2 mil washers here that go right over the posts, and then you have your carbon plate here. And again, there's a chamfered side and a hard side. Extreme close up. So you have that. And then you have two longer screws and one shorter screw here. And the shorter screw is going to go through the bottom of the carbon plate, the non-chamfered side, and it's going to key in one of these body posts. So there are, I'm going to try and show you guys so you can see them. There's two body posts that come in the kit. There is a one that uses a nub that will hold your body on using a body clip. And then there's another one that's just flat. And that flat one is what I use. I usually use Velcro to hold my body on. You definitely don't need a body clip for me in this day and age, but we know some people like them, so you get both in the kit. You choose whichever one works best for you, and I support your decision. Tyler, you go body clipless, I assume.
That I do. I just run the flats and then 4 little pieces of Velcro, and you never have a real issue.
Yeah, and it's just nice not to have to like take a regular body post and cut a nub off and Dremel it. And
yeah, it's definitely one of those small things that are just, it's nice to have like in the long run. Like it's just saves you that extra 5 minutes. So
yeah, and then this plate goes on and it has an angle to it, you can see, and it goes forward. So points towards the front of the car, which is pretty straightforward. And then here with these button head screws, I'm also gonna brake clean these and use some thread lock. These screws don't really tend to come loose at all, so I'm pretty light on the thread lock. But I still want to put a little bit in there because metal into metal, just better safe than sorry.
So you've got RC Vitals again asking when we're going to be out to Beach RC. I haven't been there yet. I want to definitely get out there soon. I think we had isn't there a TLR Cup race, I think, out there?
Yeah. So our our TLR Championship Series spring round was supposed to be there, but it's gotten postponed.
Yeah.
Because of the coronavirus, and it's been rescheduled, and it's in December now.
Yeah, so it's one race I definitely want to get out to. That's a really cool facility. I've heard really great things about it, so it'd be definitely really cool to get out there soon.
Yep. So just get those screws nice and tight, and you should have your nice free steering that just kind of flops around. Should be super free, and then super tight, which is really nice. Very proud of how that steering fit and finish came out. So. All right. Well, let's see. Do we have any other questions?
Let's see.
Yeah, I see one from Hunter here. Will pop up on the screen. So for Frank, is he running stiff as L arms and side guards for carpet? So for carpet, I run stiff as L arms, but soft mud guards still. The stiff as L arms are more durable, and they have less flex, but they are a little bit heavier. They're about 3 grams heavier per arm than the standard arms. So on clay, we don't really need it, and saving the 12 grams on the car seems to be better than reducing the flex. But on carpet, I do like the reduced amount of flex. So you see any other ones in there, Tyler?
Just T-Tran. He's chiming in, asking why his X4 didn't show up today.
Let's see. Why didn't mine come today? I'm going to guess that he didn't place his order in time. So he's going to have to talk to whoever approves orders and figure that out.
You could probably make that happen.
Yeah, it's been really awesome having Thomas on board, and obviously he's about a week and a half deep right now and still doing a lot of learning and learning our systems at Horizon, and I'm sure within a month or two he's going to be up to full speed, and wow, what an asset he's going to be for us. It's going to be awesome. So,
yeah, for sure. It's going to be awesome.
Let's see. I see a question from Matt. All right, so Matt Paulins asked, Frank, the car come with upgraded parts? So the car does come with almost all the parts that you see here. It comes with carbon braces, it comes with the aluminum motor mount. The only upgrade part that we've added so far is this steering rack, this aluminum steering rack. And it's just a nice piece, so I wanted to show you guys it real quick. And then the kit does come with the slipper assembly for the center. And we've installed a center diff here, which is what most of our modified race team runs. But if you're running spec, both Tyler and I have preferred the slipper. And that's why the slipper is included in the kit. Also, if you run on carpet, you're for sure going to want a slipper. There's a couple more upgrade parts we're going to add to the kit later, actually 2 of them, but they don't come with the kit. We'll make sure to cover that in detail.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really don't even think there's really much of need for really anything, like you said. I mean, the aluminum steering is definitely a nice piece to have. A little bit of bling factor there, but I mean, I haven't broken anything, so the car is really good right out of the box.
All right. So I just went ahead and killed the table cam since we're done wrenching. It's just a little bit easier to hear me, I think, this way. Tyler, you can hear me, right? Thumbs up?
Yes, sir. You are all good.
All right. So it's a little easier to see the two of us here when my hands aren't fluttering around the table because I have nervous hands. Ricky Bobby, what did I do with my hands? Yeah. So let's see if we have any more questions. If you guys have any questions for Tyler or myself, feel free to add them. Tyler's in this video, and I'll have somebody else guest starring in the next video. So if you have any Tyler questions, go ahead and ask. And I'm going to ask this question because I think Tyler's going to answer it. Victor Vasquez says, "Hey boys, what setup should I start with for trackside and impact 13.5?"
For me, what I ran at both trackside and impact is basically what I ran at the associated race, which I can get you a whole setup sheet. Feel free, just hit me up. But kind of long story short, I'm at 7,205 for the diffs. So 7 in the front, 5 in the rear. Shock oil and shock package in general is pretty standard. It's identical to the kit, except I have the AE V2 yellow front springs and the blue rear. But other than that, it's basically all just kit setup. I mean, the car is really good right out of the box. So, I mean, I think you're really going to be impressed. So,
yeah, there's only a few changes really from kit setup. I think a lot of guys are running different front pills.
Yep.
I don't know about you, I'm running full kick on mine. Full narrow, full kick instead of the arm sweep.
Yeah, on mine, I am a little bit different. I'm one up and in on the A and just one in on the B. So,
okay.
So I just think it kind of gave the car a little bit more of a consistent steering feel. So,
yeah. So the springs, I think other than that, man, there's really not much to change. Dakota does run number 3 hole on both shock towers, so the outside holes, and I've been running that lately. I honestly, there's not a whole lot to change. I think if you start with the kit setup and maybe just change the front pills and have the other springs available, that'd be a pretty good way to start.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's a really good. I think the car is just really neutral, steers a lot, makes a lot of grip. Like the kit setup compared to a lot of other like manufactured kit setups, like is definitely on point. I think everyone's gonna be really close right away.
Yeah. Got another question here on the screen. Steven Schwind asks, does anyone running mod use a slipper? Well, on carpet, whether you're running mod or stock, you run a slipper, just period. On clay, I have run a slipper. Depends on the track and the grip, the layout. But like at Reedy Race, I preferred a slipper. There's a pretty challenging rhythm section, single, double, triple, turn triple. And I was just struggling to time it. In 4-wheel, we could overjump everything so easily. And I put the slipper in, and I was able to time everything a lot more consistently. So I ended up running it at that race and preferring it. I did post that setup. So there's a setup with a few changes to it that includes a slipper. But I think most guys are running a center diff and prefer that for most tracks. I preferred that myself at the last race that we were at. So I think for me, I would get a center diff. If you're running mod on clay or you're running spec on clay, I would get a center diff and try it because it makes such a big impact on how the car drives and how much speed it has. And it really is different. It seems like every team driver you ask has a slightly different opinion about it. And it really just comes back to how you pick up the throttle and how you drive on power.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, for me in mod, I've tried the slipper with mod. I definitely like the way the slipper feels under braking a little bit more than the diff, but yeah. I'm pretty heavy on the throttle, so I like that. I like that little extra forgiveness of the center diff. Definitely seems to make a little bit more grip for me, and it's just a little bit easier to drive.
Zach Rose says he has all kinds of questions for you.
I don't even want to know. I don't want
Friend, so that's kind of an inside joke.
Oh yeah.
All right, and we'll do this one as our last question here. Does it come with a center diff with no slipper? So the kit comes with a slipper, and then you can add the center diff in as an option part. So we went with a slipper in the kit since we feel like that's the best option for spec racing and the best option for carpet. So the only time that we would really highly recommend, like, yeah, you should probably run a center diff is modified on dirt or clay.
Yep, definitely for sure. And I think that's another thing too, like with having the slipper and everything, like the car is super light too out of the box, which a lot of spec racers will like. And I know for sure at trackside, there's been quite a bit of hype over it just because of just how light the car is right out of the box. So
what have you been running your car at for weight?
It was, I believe it was right around 1600. No, it wasn't 1600. What am I thinking? It was like it was like high 1600s, I think. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
All right, good job.
I could put it on the scales. I don't know.
Yeah. So if you're running everything stock with a thin battery, you should probably be in like the 1660 range.
I think that's kind of like where it was. I don't remember. But I do have to reweigh it because I just put plastic gears in all my diffs. So.
Oh, dude, you're in for a surprise. Those things are pretty awesome.
Yeah, when you can put it in your hand and you can feel that it's lighter, like it's going to be quite a bit lighter.
So my car at Desert Classic, I was running all the titanium turnbuckles and ball studs, aluminum nuts, titanium shock mounts, and titanium screws. But pretty much other than that, stock car with the plastic internal gear, so steel ring and pinion still. My car was 1620.
Jeez.
So it's
yeah,
you can get it pretty light. Dakota actually had to add 10 grams of weight to his because he had the plastic ring and pinion in his too.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. I guess we got one more here from Hunter. How often are we putting new oil in the center diff when you're running 100K plus oil? I don't know. For me, I kind of do it before, like at every big race, I'll do it, once or twice. But on a normal just club race basis, I kind of just go through my diffs once a month just to try to keep everything fresh. You can do it more than that if the grip comes up. But, I mean, these diffs don't really leak at all or anything. And when you take the oil out of them, at least for me, it's never black. It's always still pretty good. Like, it's not getting burnt up at all. Like, everything's just good.
Yeah, I agree. The center diff, one thing I will say is if you feel like you're starting to get to where you don't have as much drive as you want, sometimes you can just put fresh oil in it and it'll pick up a little bit of drive. So like if you're running 500 and it's starting to feel more like 400, you just put fresh 500 in, it'll feel good again.
Yep.
But other than that, like front and rear discs, I mean, honestly, it's so easy to do that I probably do them more than I need to. But like I said, I mean, it almost comes out clear. I mean, it's not really burning up like you see on carpet or with the 22X-4 2.0 diffs. So
yeah,
I just wanted to continue the build series here. We did Bag E, which is this chassis assembly right here because the other camera's not on anymore, which I forgot about for a sec. And I just wanted to continue to bring on some of my teammates, team drivers that I enjoy racing with and working with, and kind of share them with you guys. You guys get to see Dakota and videos all the time, but I like to introduce some other guys. So we've had Andrew Swanson, Ryan Harris, Tyler Whitt, and Matthew Willoughby. So we've had those 4 guys on. We're going to have somebody else on in the next video. So thanks for joining, Tyler. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. It was fun. So I guess if anybody around here or even watching this video wants some help, just feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook or text if you got my number, and I'll always get back to you. So,
okay, awesome. Well, do you want to thank your sponsors real quick?
Yeah, TLR, of course. You guys gave me so much support. It's awesome. But yeah, Motive, Proline, Hobbywing, Spectrum, Trackside, definitely Trackside. They know how to take care of me. Gravity, Mazer over at RC Life, they all do cool stuff. So yeah, Zach, I better get Zach because if I don't get Zach at 920, he's gonna ridicule me.
Yeah, Zach will go nuts. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think I missed him in one race report, and woof. So
awesome. Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thank you everybody for watching, and give me about 10 minutes. I'm gonna jump into the next video. So thanks, Tyler.
no problem, buddy.